Hey guys, it's Katie, and I wanted to pop on to answer a question today that came up on a coaching call. And I've actually had a handful of people ask me this over the past few months. I think it's a common question that comes up on the Sinclair Method, and that's the question of, should I be trying not to drink when I'm starting out on the Sinclair Method? Should I essentially try to resist my cravings and only give in to an urge when it's really strong? Or, when I am drinking, should I try to limit myself with how much I'm drinking? And again, this goes back to when someone is just starting out on the Sinclair Method, so their first month or few months on the method. And in my opinion, in my experience with the method, it's not a good idea and actually not helpful to success when we are white knuckling our cravings and kind of resisting our urge to drink. Because the whole purpose behind this method is to really allow yourself to surrender to the craving to drink. And by doing so and having a compliant drinking session with Naltrexone and the Sinclair Method, you are slowly but surely undoing that wiring in your brain that has caused the alcohol use disorder to begin with. And so when we approach it, like many of us, when we've tried to quit drinking before, it's all about kind of white knuckling and resisting and just forcing yourself not to drink. So I can understand why someone would be doing that on this method, but we want to do kind of a 180 and think about the Sinclair Method in a whole new way where when we're just starting out, if we've got an urge to drink, we don't want to resist it, but we really want to have an extinction session, meaning drinking compliantly on the naltrexone. So if an urge comes up, that's an indicator that, okay, this is a craving. I need to have an extinction session and work to undo that wiring in my brain that is causing my alcohol use disorder to begin with. So again, just to answer this question of when you're starting out on the Sinclair Method, you don't want to try to restrict how much you're drinking. You don't want to try to resist and white knuckle those cravings, but rather, in my opinion, it's an invitation to surrender to it and to have a compliant drinking session on the naltrexone. And by doing that with repetition, with 100% compliancy, you are going to unwind that pathway in your brain that, again, has been driving the alcohol use disorder to begin with. Now all this to say is not like a free invitation to just go out and get super drunk and drink as much as you can. Of course, as much as possible, we want to try to have mindfulness to the drinking experience and do everything we can to really just consciously pay attention to our habits and patterns and triggers around drinking. But what that could look like practically is, if you've got an urge to drink, and you surrender to it and you have your extinction session, some mindfulness things might be, tracking your drinks, making sure you eat a meal before you drink, perhaps not having hard alcohol, but instead having drinks with a lower alcohol volume so that you're consuming less alcohol. Really checking in with yourself to see, how does this drink taste? How does it feel? Am I enjoying the buzz? Do I really want another one? All of these ways we can just kind of inquire within ourselves and bring mindfulness and more just conscious awareness to the whole drinking experience, from before you start drinking to during your drinking session and then after. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, the TSM method is not all about resisting cravings like we've done in the past with other ways of stopping drinking or reducing drinking. It's more about getting in tune with your cravings, and when you have a craving, drinking compliantly on the naltrexone and surrendering to it, not resisting it, not trying to force yourself to not drink, but really allowing yourself to have that extinction session. And by doing so with the naltrexone, the endorphins are going to be blocked because the receptors in your brain are blocking it using the naltrexone medication. And so you're going to have that craving and that urge to drink, and you're going to go for the drink and have it, but your brain's not getting that same reinforcement reward. So slowly but surely, it's undoing that connection between alcohol and reward. And I will say too, part of the reason I wanted to bring this up today is that sometimes when people are working with physicians that are not super knowledgeable about the Sinclair Method and how the science of it works, their doctor might tell them, try not to drink, but if you're gonna drink, have the naltrexone. And I think when you're starting out on this method especially, that is just not the best advice, because then there's this conflict within them, they're still resisting the craving and having that urge, and they're trying not to drink, and then when they do finally drink on the naltrexone, they may end up just binging because the urge got so strong, the alcohol deprivation effect really kicked in, which is something you can read more about in The Cure for Alcoholism by Dr. Roy Escapa. And so it just causes this bingy behavior. And so through this method, it's really a way to listen to our cravings and allow ourselves to drink with that natural urge that's coming up within us. But again, we're undoing that circuitry in our brain, so that we can, with time, have more control and have fewer cravings, or even resulting in no cravings through this method. That happens for a lot of people. And I will say this is something that changes the longer someone's on the method. If you're just starting out, don't resist those cravings. That's my opinion. But the longer you're on the method, there comes a time where you really want to start challenging the cravings, questioning it. Is this really a craving, or is it just 5 o'clock and I'm used to having a beer at this time? So that's where you'll want to start having more of those times of challenging the craving, creating new habits, trying other things for coping, or different ways to spend your evening. But just starting out on this method, you really don't want to create too much resistance in yourself. I think it just down the road causes more issues. So I hope that's helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.